I'd been waiting on that rooftop for 3 days. I knew he was in the building across from me. He knew I was here too. Budapest was burning, but neither of us fired, because the first one to fire would die. Budapest, January 1945. Soviet sniper Aleksei Voronov, and across from him a German sniper. Name unknown, but his presence was felt. Every day, every night. January 1945. Budapest, Hungary. The city was in 2 pieces, Buda and Pest. The Danube River ran between them. Soviet forces had surrounded the city. Inside, German and Hungarian forces. Outside, the Soviets. And in the middle, a city burning. The Budapest siege had begun in December 1944. It had been going on for weeks. Every day more destruction. Every day more casualties. And every day a separate war on the rooftops. Aleksei Voronov served in the sniper unit of the 3rd Ukrainian Front. He was from Leningrad. 24 years old, he had lived through the Leningrad siege. He had done sniper work there. He knew urban warfare, but Budapest was different. Leningrad had no forests. There were open spaces. Budapest had buildings, rooftops. Every corner was a trap, every window a threat, and the rooftops. The rooftops were everything. On the first day, Voronov climbed onto a roof, looked around. The silhouette of Budapest was visible, burning buildings, smoke, and in the distance, other rooftops. On one of those rooftops, someone was there. He could feel it. He raised his binoculars, looked. He couldn't see anything, but the feeling didn't go away.
The siege of Budapest began on December 26, 1944, and ended on February 13, 1945. It lasted approximately 50 days. Around 800,000 civilians and more than 100,000 German and Hungarian soldiers were trapped inside the encirclement. Soviet forces pressed in from 2 directions. The urban fighting was extremely intense. Sniper warfare took on a critical dimension, particularly in the districts where Budapest's historic buildings were most densely concentrated. Both sides used rooftops and elevated positions as strategic firing points throughout the siege.
Day 2. Voronov went back to the same roof. He chose a different position. Not returning to yesterday's spot was the rule. Going back meant dying. Early morning. The sun hadn't risen yet. It was cold. January in Budapest showed no mercy. Voronov waited. 1 hour, 2 hours. Then he saw it. On the rooftop of the building across from him. Very brief, very sudden, a movement. He locked the binoculars on it. Looked. It was gone, but it had been there. Voronov shifted his position. Slowly, without making a sound. Every movement was deliberate, and he waited. In the afternoon, a second movement came. This time to the right, a different point. Voronov understood. The man across from him was playing the same game. Changing positions, staying invisible, but watching. When evening came, Voronov climbed down. He turned to Petrov beside him. "There's someone across there," he said. Petrov looked at him. "A sniper?" "Yes." "Did you see him?" "No, but he's there." Petrov thought about it. "What are you going to do?" Voronov was quiet for a moment. "Wait," he said.
The dynamics of sniper duels in urban warfare are fundamentally different from open ground engagements. In a built environment, sight lines are shorter, but the danger zone is considerably wider. Rooftops offer high vantage points and are ideal sniper positions for exactly that reason. But they are also the most predictable and most exposed locations available. Experienced snipers like Voronov constantly shifted positions to balance remaining invisible with locating the opposing sniper. The dense building fabric of Budapest made that balance extremely complex to maintain.
Day 5. Voronov had noticed something. The man across from him was working systematically. One position early every morning, a different position in the afternoon, a third point toward evening. It was a cycle. It repeated. Voronov wrote it down in his notebook. Every day, every movement, every time. On the 3rd day, he noticed something else. The man across was using the sun. The light coming from the east in the morning lit up Voronov's side. The light from the west in the afternoon lit up the other side. Smart, but it also revealed a weakness. The cycle could be broken. Voronov went to his commander, explained it. The commander listened. What do you need? 2 days. I'll only observe. I won't fire. The commander was surprised. Why? Because if I fire, he'll move. If I watch, I'll learn. And if I learn, I'll find him. The commander thought about it. 2 days, he said. Then I want a result. Voronov went back, climbed to the roof, and watched, without firing. 2 full days. He noted every movement, every timing, every position, and on the evening of the 7th day, he understood something. The man across from him had one mistake. Small, but it was there. Every day at exactly noon, he changed position, as if he was checking a watch, as if he had a routine. Routine was death.
One of the most effective methods in sniper detection is behavioral analysis and pattern recognition. Experienced snipers vary their movement timing to remain unpredictable, but in prolonged operations, fatigue and habit inevitably create certain routines. Voronov's 2-day observation strategy was tactically sound. Firing early would have warned the opposing sniper. Waiting revealed the weak point. This kind of patience and analytical thinking was the fundamental requirement for survival in urban sniper warfare.
Day 8, midday. Voronov had been in position since 5 in the morning, 7 hours. He hadn't moved, hadn't eaten, hadn't drunk, just waited. The sun was directly overhead. It was exactly noon. Voronov held his breath. A movement came on the rooftop across from him. The movement he had been waiting for. The position change he had been waiting for. In that moment of transition, that half second, a silhouette appeared. Voronov pulled the trigger. A sound came, a sharp impact on the rooftop across, then silence. Voronov didn't lower his binoculars. He waited. 5 minutes, 10, no movement. Petrov came through on the radio. Did you get him? Voronov waited 20 more minutes. I don't know, he said, because he didn't. He hadn't seen it clearly. A silhouette, a movement, a sound. Was it enough? Could it be counted? That night, Voronov didn't come down. He stayed on the roof, waited. When morning came, he looked. No movement on the rooftop across. Midday came, no movement. Evening came, no movement. Voronov came down that evening. He looked at Petrov. Done, he said. But there was no satisfaction in his voice.
Sniper casualties were extremely heavy on both sides throughout the Budapest urban battle. The narrow streets and dense building fabric made both detection and neutralization difficult. Taking a single sniper out of action could take days or even weeks. Voronov's 8-day operation reflects this reality. In urban sniper warfare, a definitive outcome was rarely achievable. Whether the opposing side had genuinely been neutralized or had simply changed position could remain unclear for a long time afterward.
Day 9. Voronov had been wrong. Early that morning, he saw a movement on the rooftop across. Small, very small, but there. His stomach tightened. Still there, where someone new had come. Maybe the second possibility was worse. Someone new was unpredictable. No habits, no cycle. Voronov turned to Petrov. Still there. Petrov looked at him. Are you sure? No. That honesty unsettled both of them. 8 days, and still not sure. That day, Voronov felt something different. It wasn't exhaustion. It was something darker. Doubt. He knew what he was doing and what it meant, but knowing and feeling were different things. For 8 days, he had thought about the man across from him, where he was, when he moved, how he thought. And now that man had either gone or was still there. Both possibilities disturbed Voronov. That night he wrote something in his notebook. Not tactical notes. Just this. I knew him. I never saw him, but I knew him. That is a strange thing. He closed the notebook. Tried to sleep. Sleep didn't come. In the morning he got up, picked up his rifle, climbed to the roof. The game was still going.
The psychological dimension of urban sniper warfare carries a different weight from standard combat trauma. Tracking the same enemy for days creates both intense concentration and deep psychological fatigue. The line Voronov wrote in his notebook captures this in a striking way. Trying to understand the man across from you makes it impossible not to see him as a person. The testimonies of Soviet soldiers who took part in the Budapest sniper war returned to this psychological burden repeatedly. The mental erosion was as real a cost of this fighting as the physical danger.
Day 14. Budapest was on the verge of falling. The German defense was collapsing. Soviet forces were pushing into the city, and the rooftop across was silent. Voronov hadn't seen movement for 2 days. Was it real this time, or was he wrong again? The commander called. "We're advancing." "The sniper unit moves too." Voronov understood. He was going to leave that rooftop, leave that question unanswered. Had the man across died, pulled back? Was he still there waiting? He would never know. Budapest fell on February 13th, 1945. Voronov moved through the city, between ruined buildings, past burned rooftops. At one point he stopped. He looked at the building across from him, the building he had watched for 14 days. He climbed to its roof. He looked around. It was empty. Just the trace of an old position. Someone had been here for a long time. Voronov bent down, looked at the ground. An empty casing. A few cigarette ends. He had sat here, waited, just like Voronov. Voronov stood up, stayed there for a long time, then went back down.
The fall of Budapest was a critical turning point on the Eastern Front. The city passing to Soviet control opened the road to Vienna, and from there to Berlin. Approximately 38,000 Soviet soldiers died during the siege. German and Hungarian casualties also ran into the tens of thousands. Civilian losses were considerably heavier. The individual stories of snipers like Voronov were lost inside the broader picture. But what happened on those rooftops represents one of the least documented dimensions of the Battle of Budapest.
Voronov died in 1987 in Leningrad, at home. After the war, he went back to his city. He worked in a factory, got married, had children, an ordinary life. But he talked about Budapest. Rarely, but he did. In one interview, he said this: "I never saw that man. I don't know his face. I don't know his name. But for 14 days, I thought about him. Every morning, I woke up thinking about him. Every night, I went to sleep thinking about him." That is a strange thing, to know someone you have never seen. The journalist asked, "Do you think you killed him?" Voronov was quiet for a moment. "I don't know," he said. And that always stayed with me. Not knowing. The name of the German sniper on that rooftop was never found. Did he survive? Did he pull back? Unknown. Budapest is still standing today, on both banks of the Danube, Buda and Pest. The bridges rebuilt, the buildings restored. The city lives, but on some rooftops there are still marks. Small ones. You wouldn't notice them if you weren't looking. Bullet holes. Repaired, but leaving traces. Behind those traces there were 2 men. One from Leningrad, one from somewhere unknown. 14 days. Rooftop to rooftop. Facing each other, and they never came face to face. War history is mostly told through large operations. How many tanks? How many soldiers? How many kilometers gained? But on the rooftops of Budapest, a different war was fought. 2 men, 2 rifles, and a burning city between them. Voronov left something behind on that city's rooftops. It wasn't an empty casing. It was 14 days of a question mark, and that question mark never found an answer.
The Battle of Budapest stands today as one of the least known but most intense urban battles of the Second World War. It has stayed in the shadow of Stalingrad and Berlin, but what happened there holds important lessons both in human and tactical terms. The stories of snipers like Voronov represent the most personal dimension of this history. The story of the unnamed German sniper became the symbol of that rooftop war. Who he was is unknown, but that he was there is known, and sometimes that is enough.